Elementary deduction should have allowed you to deduce who I am, but for those that are unaware, I am Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective. It is my unfortunate displeasure to announce here this evening that the infamous masked magician is sat amongst you. But do not be alarmed, because before this evening is up, I shall have deduced who this perpetrator is. Now, it only seems fitting for me to describe to you the process upon which I arrived at this conclusion, and began several weeks ago, just as I was wrapping up the case of the deadly decapitator. I was pondering the problem, why was he called the deadly decapitator, since most decapitations are automatically deadly? However, Dr. Watson quickly had another challenge to place before me. He advised me about another case where a magician was stealing the secrets of other famous names and revealing them to the local rag. I actually investigated this crime, and the only clue left was small pieces of paper that identified certain things, but nobody could quite make out what they were. Each one holded some shred of evidence. The Scotland Yard were ready to take this evidence away and try and conceal this back with their own magical methods, using the chemistry kits and various features. I, as an amateur scientist myself, decided the better way would be to just restore it within a blink of an eye. Now, I take note of this paper, and I see several articles of interest, one of which is this one, which was circled in red. It seemed as though the infamous masked magician was going to go after somebody very famous, and in fact, the masked magician in this case was going after Harry Houdini. His mask was found at the scene of the crime as well. Now, I pondered on this problem for several moments, and as I like to ponder on my problems, I prefer to smoke my pipe. I believe it helps me relax, and I smoked my pipe for 1, 2, 3, even 4 hours until I eventually came to several conclusions. The first of which, the masked magician would try and infiltrate a society such as yours, because this is where the hub of most magical secrets lie. The second thing is that he, as an exposing person for Harry Houdini, I could consult with him to try and gain some magical skills in order to infiltrate your group. And so he taught me several tricks, some of which I wish to share with you this evening. One of Harry Houdini's most famous effects was where he was tied to a piece of rope. Now, I am not that good, he wasn't willing to share with me those secrets. However, I do have something else which he shared with me, involving a metal ring. What Harry Houdini would do is he would secure himself to the centre of this rope like so, unable to escape. However, from the clutches of death, he would bind himself free from those ropes. If you didn't see that, we'll try it one more time by placing this rope on top of the ring. And instead of this time escaping from the rope, he would emerge right in the centre of it. If you missed that, we'll show you this trick one more time. In fact, we'll take this ring over here, up to the top. And I'll let you see that ring right in the centre of this rope, just as Harry Houdini would be secured like so. In fact, somebody would, like members of the audience, would hold onto the end of the rope, and all it would take would be a little blow, and Harry Houdini could escape like so. We'll try this one more time, because Harry Houdini would not perform the escape just once or twice. He was a master showman. He would perform this effect numerous times, until you would believe that miracles were happening. In fact, he would even secure himself not once but twice to this ring, tying himself to both edges. But all it would take would be a little bite, and he could escape. Now, I'll put the ring down for a second, because Harry Houdini was most famous for death-defying illusions. He would take something such as this rope and wrap it around his neck like a noose. This would be life and death consequences for him. He would hold onto the ends, give it a massive tug, and pull that rope right for the centre of his neck. Now, these simple tricks, they were enough to gain me into your society. They invited me to be a part of you, but I wasn't privileged to all the information off the beat, no. I was blindfolded so that I could not see how some of the most inner secrets worked. However, this was not a problem for me, for I was not here to learn some magical secrets. I was here to deduce who the masked magician was. And at one point, I believe I had caught that suspect red-handed. However, it unfortunately turned out to be a little herring, because I found out a red herring was at play. But don't worry, it wasn't long before I had gained enough clues and deduced that the game was afoot. Quite literally. And that's what's brought me here to this evening. Because throughout this evening, I've been watching you as an audience. I have been between you and you all. And I caught several people who were taking notes that I believe could be the masked magician. And if I could just see into the audience now, I've noticed several people who I'm going to wish to pick on. I would ask you, sir, would you please stand up? I'm going to ask you, sir, would you please stand up? And I'm going to ask... I would ask you, sir, would you please stand up? Yes, the one that, no, you, the one with the bull head, that's him, yes, perfect. Don't worry, we're all inclined like that as well. And I noticed one more person. Ah, you there, so in the green shirt, would you please stand up? Now, you four people were picked particularly because I noticed throughout the whole evening, you were making many general gestures, and I noticed a few things just then as well. Because you may have thought that these comical productions of a fish and a foot was just some form of entertainment. But I noticed that you, sir, when I produced those items, you took note of them and you thought, well, you tried to laugh but tried to make a mental note of it. The masked magician will be trying to keep us cool under such pressure, and I don't believe you're the masked magician, so you may sit back down, and I believe you, sir, when I performed that tricks with the ring and rope that Harry Houdini taught me, you two were thinking, oh, I know how some of those were done. A magician will be trying to learn those secrets, and therefore you may sit back down as well. And you, sir, I'm looking at you now, and your hands are crossed like this. This is a sign of defensive mechanism. You're trying to compose yourself, but keep yourself held back in some way. I don't believe you're the masked magician because he will be trying to be open and presentable in this type of environment. You may sit back down as well. And that means that you, sir, are the masked magician. Would you please join me to the stage? Because before this case is finally closed, there was a punishment for people caught stealing. And in my day, when someone was caught revealing the secrets of a magician or stealing of anybody's property, they would have their hand chopped off. You, sir, masked magician. As punishment for your horrendous crime this evening, I now present to you the audience of your peers who will see you punished. Please place your hand inside the stock. Perfect. Place your hand into a fist. Wonderful. As you can see, this blade fits neatly inside. I now cast punishment served on the masked magician. Oh! You may remain there until we're finished with you. But now, with this case finally solved, it gives me time to actually retire and play my violin, of which I love to spend the evenings with. And with that, I bid you good night and thank you for participating.